Hello friends, and welcome to our devotional series. We're looking at the sermon that was preached by Dr. Susan Hillis on Sunday past, and based out of Luke chapter 9. And I want to take you straight there to Luke chapter 9. I'm going to read from verse 12. Late in the afternoon, the 12 came to him and said, Jesus, send the crowd away so they can go to the surrounding villages and countryside to find food and lodging, because we live in a remote place here. And Jesus replied, you give them something to eat. And they answered, we have only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, and unless we go buy food for this crowd, which is about 5,000 men were there. But he said to his disciples, have them sit down in groups of about 50 each. And the disciples did so, and everyone sat down. And taking the 5 loaves and 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke them. Then he gave them to the disciples to distribute to the people. And they all ate and were satisfied. And the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. Isn't it amazing that Jesus wants the disciples to discover the supernatural? Remember that previously he had given them authority to enact healing and deliverance, and here again was a crowd in need. And Jesus is hoping to inspire them to the next height of their faith, but they're stuck in the enormity of the problem rather than in the power of their God. They're trying to be considerate to the crowd, and they're saying, look, let's stop now, Jesus, so people have time to go and find something, because it's remote and it's going to take a little time, and this is a large crowd. And Jesus really comes back at them and says, why don't we be considerate with the supernatural? So I want to remind you, next time you're trying to be considerate, consider that God may want to join the party with his own type of consideration. The supernatural provisions are something that God loves to do. So Jesus says to the disciples, you feed them, you give them something. And when he said them, just like when he says it to us, they go immediately to the point of lack in their lives. Well, we can't do what you're suggesting, Jesus, because we don't have enough in hand to accomplish that task. All we have is these meager resources. And they're wonderfully specific here. Like they've gone away and thoughtfully assessed the situation, and they've come back with facts and figures. They said, Jesus, we've got 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. That's all we got between us. And there are about 5,000 men here. So if we add women and children in, that's a massive take order. Maybe 15,000 people. Can you imagine 15,000 happy meals to go, please? And make it snappy. There's just no way to do that easily. And the disciples are just trying to figure this all out in the natural. So Jesus takes charge, and he has them sit in specific group sizes, and he says they need to be about 50 each. Then Jesus gives thanks for the food and has the disciples go and distribute it. Now, rough numbers means that if there were 15,000 people in groups of 50, that's about 300 groups. And the 12 disciples then each would have had 25 groups to feed. And they have a handful of food that Jesus has broken and given to them to fulfill the mandate to feed these people. You go and give them something. So Jesus gives thanks, and he breaks it and he gives to them, and they take this bread and they turn around, and the miracle starts to happen in the palm of their hands. They break off a piece and their hands are still full, and they keep handing it away, and it keeps remaining full, and the miracle starts to happen in their hands. No matter how full their hands were when they started, and they turned around to face the 25 groups each roughly that they had to feed. And what an incredible step of faith that it must have taken from them to walk towards this large group of people with what seems incredibly insignificant amounts in your hand. And they walked towards the first group and started to give away what they had in their hands. And I love this idea, because I wonder how far into the process they were when it became clear to them that they would not run out of food. At what moment did it sink in? I'm in the middle of a miracle here. And they kept at it. And I want you to think about this. How long do you think it took them to hand food to 1,250 people, roughly on average each, just to hand away at least 1,000 times? Here's some food for you. Oh, here's some food for you. And when everybody had eaten their fill, they picked up a basket full of leftover pieces each. That means that each disciple was left with more food than the entire group had started out with. The multiplication in your life will happen in the palm of your hands when you are committed to giving something away in line with the word of Jesus. Now, what the Lord has spoken to you, he's going to make manifest. So my question to you is, what has the Lord spoken to you? As you give in line with His word and His directive, He can multiply the resources that you have been willing to surrender to Him by your willingness to give it away. But He can make it multiply 1,000 times more impactful. So now, I don't think that food tasted any different. I'm not sure everybody was even aware that a miracle was happening. Although those who are used to catering, or anyone who's used to leading, would have been marveling at what was going on. But Jesus wanted His disciples to learn a great lesson. He's probably going to want you to learn the same lesson. When you give something away under the direction of God, don't just sacrifice what you're giving. Expect it. Trust God to make it multiply its effect in your hand so that you can impact the society you live in. Try that today. Ask the Lord, what do you want me to do, Lord? And see if He doesn't create a miracle in the palm of your hand. We miss you. We're thinking about you all the time. We're praying for you every day and are looking forward to getting back together again soon. God bless you.